people picture science as a solitary endeavor, a lone scientist working everything out in his or her head. But that's really not the case. Even scientists who do most of their work on their own get feedback from and engage with their community, people who have similar interests in research. Without that, it would be really hard to make progress. And the reality is that the vast majority of scientists are far from isolated. Like me, they work with students and faculty on their own campus, have close colleagues they interact with daily or weekly, maybe monthly, and they attend events like meetings and workshops where they interact with a lot more people. This community of scientists shares a set of values, methods, and approaches. Many would describe this approach as healthy skepticism, addressing a question or problem by first looking carefully at what has been done before, evaluating that in light of any new evidence, and asking new questions that can be addressed through testing. We may have answers in mind when we ask questions, but we acknowledge and value that we may be wrong, and we're open to new ideas. These values unify the scientific community. If you've ever tried to figure out things like why your plants aren't growing and tested different amounts of water and light, you already share the values of this community. In fact, one of the great things about it is that it is inclusive. Being part of it only requires shared interests and values. Even if you're just getting started in a research area, you're part of the community because you are asking questions that people care about, and you're approaching them using the same set of values and methods that are embedded in science. Of course, just sharing values isn't quite enough. Interacting with the community is critical. Within the large community of scientists, I feel more closely connected with other geologists, especially structural geologists and geoscience educators. With those groups, I share interests that might feel narrow to some, but these are the peers who review my manuscripts and proposals for funding, and I review theirs. These are the peers I look forward to talking to at meetings, to have the opportunity to share ideas and get input on my new projects. This is the community that gives me a reality check when I haven't done my background research and gives me enthusiastic support when I might be onto something new. Finding that subgroup that shares your interests is one of the ways that a mentor can really help. I talk about finding and working with a mentor in another video, but you can think about them as a guide to this new community that you're entering. You can also get involved on your own by reading the literature, talking to people, especially other students, and going to meetings and so on. But a mentor should help strengthen those connections and help you meet others in your community.
So I collaborate with other individuals in my field and outside of my field all the time. I think it's a necessary component to running a successful research lab. You want to be able to confer with your colleagues, to be able to know that, some of the scientific findings that you have in your lab are valid. They can also be repeated. Are they seeing certain things occurring between species, for instance? That's my area of research. Whether you're collaborating with researchers in your field or outside of the field, it's always good to have another viewpoint to a problem or a hypothesis. Sometimes you get immersed in a project and you lose sight of something that another collaborator could bring back to the table. So collaborating is, I think, one of the most important aspects of research.
The scientific community and all of its subgroups benefit from including people with diverse backgrounds, which leads to diverse questions and ideas about how to address those questions, both of which are critical to advances in knowledge. So don't be shy. You have a lot to offer and to learn from this community. Welcome.